will surprise you.
Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, on the heels of the gala opening last night, the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival begins today and runs until September 28th with screenings at the various Movietown locations. And so this morning we're going to be talking to two of the directors of those films which will be screened. Joining me is Miss Kathy Tyson, director of the film Lillian, and Mr. Eric Barry, director of the short film The Inner View. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Ms. Tyson, I'm going to start with you first. I mean, how did you come to be part of the film festival, and particularly how, I believe this is the Caribbean premiere of the film?
Yes, I'm delighted about that.
Yes.
This is my father's country, Trinidad and Tobago. So it's always been part of my blood from a young child. So it felt right to approach the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival with this film, and indeed other films that I do. So that's why I'm at the TNT. I've been lucky enough to be selected for the TNT Film Festival.
Nice. I love that you have Trini roots. So is it that you're going to be joining us for the premiere at all?
Oh, my family.
Oh, your family. Very nice.
My family.
Yes.
I'm here today in Trinidad for the whole of the festival.
Okay,
and
good.
Yes, my family are coming to. So that's going to be I feel quite emotional about that. The support that they're giving.
Of course.
Thank you to them.
Tell us a little bit about the film. It's entitled Lillian. Tell us a little bit about Lillian.
Yeah. Lillian is Lillian Barder, who is the first black woman in the Royal Air Force, and she had a tricky time trying to enter into it because during the Second World War, in the early days of it, black people weren't allowed to participate in any level, from even working in canteens or whatever like that. And Lillian used to get taunted in her village in Yorkshire in England for, that people would say, "What are you doing for the war effort?" And she wouldn't answer back. And so I've known about Lillian for years, and during the pandemic I had an opportunity to create this story and continue with it. And she's been living with me and still is for since that for years actually. I'm very proud of her.
Now, Mr. Barry, I'm going to bring you in here because I'm also wondering, how did you also become a part of the TNT Film Festival?
It's an interesting story. Some years ago, the festival committee, festival people had a workshop for writers, and the final one they had, it was all about human rights, and the participants were asked to write a 5-minute piece on a human rights topic of choice. So I chose to write about what we call implicit bias, and the top 3 that they adjudicated would have gotten a little bit of money to go and produce their film, and it would have been shown at that year's film festival at I think it was 2016, somewhere around there, where mine didn't make the cut for the top 3. But I thought it was a good story nonetheless, and I went about getting the money and all that for it, and I did it this year, and I'm here.
Nice. Now, Mr. Barry, you said that one of the themes that the film tackles, of course, is that implicit bias. Is this something you would have experienced or seen someone else experience in order to, bring this film to life?
Well, I think it's something that we all experience. Either you are a victim or you are the person who does it. what it is this focuses on is people who live in marginalized communities and how the general public um, do a whole broad brush on these people, and without even knowing their background, their education, their way of living, and you just put everybody in one category, and we all do it. Either we are um, how to say, the average Joe, and we just put everybody in this bracket because they're from that particular area, or the people who live in these areas and they can't get a job because when they put that on their address on the application form, they don't get work. They say you live in. So it's all of us. So we all experience one way or the other.
Right, and it's something that you're saying
Or
that all of
some
us.
people don't even realize
Right,
that they
yes.
are doing it.
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
the interview is a short film, just 9 minutes, but how long did it take to actually get this project to fruition?
Woohoo! I began, I believe, in October, really and truly, to start the ball rolling, and that ball rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled because I began with three actors, and in December, two of them ended up having to go to Tobago to work, and I lost them. The other one had to go to Guyana to work, and I lost him. And the cast is three actors, so that I had to recast the show. And but I got really great people at the end of it all, which is Shaquille Charles, Kevin Brooks, and Glenn Davis. Very, 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 very wonderful people I got. Maybe the stars were in my favor. And then there was getting the financing for the show as well, that's another story. Despite the budget being a small budget, um, getting financing can be sometimes quite a challenge.
Yes.
So I ended up shooting in April. Yeah, and I had to shoot in April because we had to present the final film to the festival committee to be selected for
Yes,
that particular
yes.
date and all of that. So it was a bit of a pressure as well.
Right.
So
Now, Miss
so October to April.
October to April. Now, Ms.
Yeah.
Tyson, I'm going to bring you back in here because I know that when you speak to filmmakers, they often say that their projects are a labor of love because as Mr. Barry was just mentioning, there's so many things that go into it. I'm just wondering, what are some of the challenges that you would have faced when making the film Lillian?
It took us a year to do it from inception to completion. And this is a 16-minute film. I've always been interested in putting Black historical figures on the screen. I knew we had a history beyond being enslaved. My father was a barrister. He trained in England. He was a teacher in Trinidad, very proud of his endeavours. So I knew that those people were there. So that is a fire in me. So that kept me going. But sometimes it dimmed as time went on. I'm an actor. So my contracts last possibly in the theatre maximum eight weeks. So the fact of being with something for a year, I didn't even work in projects like that before. So that was a new kind of thing. But I helped to produce Lillian as well. So I was helping with locations, casting. That was all a wonderful experience for me, casting a DOP, a director of photography. And for anybody out there who wants to do this right, it is worth it. People love film. Sometimes they're willing to do it for very little money as well, come on board and help you. So, it builds up your tenacity, but it is possible. So yeah, I think what kept me going was involvement in other areas. I also acted in Lillian. I had to do a Yorkshire accent. It's a period piece. I had to make sure the makeup and costume were right. So I was doing research all through that year as well. I looked at other projects or period projects that didn't work well because costumes didn't look good, and I realized, my gosh, if the costume, because it detracted from the story, so it was like endeavoring to do things like that. I had a great team, Natasha Marburger, my producer, and of course, my partner, Cami Darwish, wrote Lillian. We did have setbacks, but I think because this is a fire in me, and sometimes the fire goes dim, sometimes it's burning, that is the thing that keeps me going. I know we need more black women in front of and behind the camera.
Yes.
So that is like a basic hunger in me, a necessity. That kept me going.
Yes.
And also, I have to say this, I was deeply fortunate to have some money given to me during the pandemic from somebody who liked my work. It just fell out of the sky one
And it
day.
just helped with the entire project.
And that
Yes.
was great.
No, I was just saying how those things came together.
Yeah, that was
and helped with the
that
entire
was a
project.
great incentive.
Yes, yeah. And Mr. Barry, quickly before we close, now I know that filmmakers are very, very cautious of telling their audiences what to expect. But when people take a look at the interview, what are some of the things that you hope that they see?
Okay, well, my film is 9 minutes long, so I can't really talk much about the film because I'll give away the whole
Without
thing.
giving away too much.
Yes, but essentially, it's a situation that happens a lot in Trinidad. People who come from marginalized communities where they're afraid of saying where they are living in their application or the interview because they might lose the job. And it is a fact that some people do give fake addresses or addresses of a relative who lives elsewhere, and that will probably help them out. There are people who actually they do have a job, but because of I heard the story of the boss knowing where the person is from, treated that individual worse than the other members of staff, just because. So essentially, it explores this topic that in a different way, though. Some people don't know about it. Some people do know about it, but it explores it in a different way that makes it, you kind of say, I didn't think about that. That's the most I can say about it at the moment. So come and see the film and get the full experience.
And I will take that for now, Mr. Barry. Mr. Barry, Ms. Tyson, let me thank you so much for joining us on the Now Morning Show. I know that the film festival is open on from the 22nd today until the 28th, and so I'm hoping people go down and they check out your films and the others that are on the lineup. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a good one. And that was directors Ms. Kathy Tyson and Mr. Eric Barry just sharing some information about their films. You're on the Now Morning Show. Stay with us.